Hey everybody, back for another episode. So been hard at work on the truck this week, and let me show you where we're at, and I'll show you where we're going.
No, you're not bringing home another piece of junk.
Okay, so I've been out here doing a whole bunch of stuff that is probably not real interesting to record while it's happening. So I'll just kind of catch you up. So anyway, I went through here and I welded up 3.5 million holes in that dash or in the firewall. Now I left a couple here. I think my wiring box is going to go there. And I made an access plate for that and an access plate for over there, just because I want to have some access to the back of the headlight assemblies, and because I think I'm going to run my speedometer cable down through there. So we put all this sheet metal in here and tacked it in, and this is for the back of the dash to sit on. I went through here and there was a couple of spots like there and there where it's just kind of jagged metal. I had to make some caps to finish it off, and you can see some daylight through there. I need to plug a few little holes in there. It's one of the things I need to do is go around and especially on the cab where we've got some light coming through. I don't want water coming through there, so we'll just spot weld those up. Stripped off a lot of paint, put a few more patches on, kind of strip off the paint there in the kick panel, I guess, and over here. And I've just been doing that with a die grinder. I put a 30 grit on there, 36 grit, go around, knock all the paint off, then put an 80 grit on there, go back around and kind of smooth out all the scratches. And I think that looks decent. We're just going to clear over that. As far as the dash over here, we put a brace in here, did all this welding and grinding, got all that finished up, finish welded this, finish welded that. There's a couple other things we welded on here. All these caps, went in and did those. Over here on the dash top, so I had to make some ends for these. So what I did is if you remember, this thing swooped out like this. So I took that swoop piece and I cut a piece off of each end, and the piece from this side I welded on that side, and the piece from that side I welded on this side, and we just kind of welded that up and ground it off. It's not perfect. We're not wanting it to be perfect, but it looks pretty good. We got this line to follow, and we got this line to follow, and then got a cap on the end, so that will work pretty decent. And I finished welded this and ground it, and we're gonna put some I'm gonna put some clear on that, but I've got some treatment I want to put on that too, because this metal was kind of like stained. I couldn't get it all the way down to bare metal here like was here, so but I got a treatment for that. We're gonna figure that out. So anyway, that's the long and short of where we're at, and I am gonna keep on this. I've got a lot more paint up here to strip. I want to strip the paint off of that. I want to put a brace here. I was really focusing on getting this cab kind of done on the inside, so I've got no more grinding and no more paint chips flying and all that. I'll do all that before I get the motor set in this thing. So anyway, that's where we're at. Let me do a little bit more and we'll come back and we'll take another look. So I'm hoping where we kind of land on the end of this video is, let's have the dash more or less put together and back up in here with the clear on it and have it treated, and We're going to cut this section of floor out. This one I patched like 4 pieces in here. We're going to do like we did over there. Make one nice piece that's going to go back here. And somewhere in that, I need to weld up the rest of the suspension. So, plenty to do here. Okay, we'll be back shortly. All right, we got sidetracked a little bit. I was kind of looking up some stuff on this gauge cluster. I want to get the speedometer fixed so to where I can use it. So there is a speedometer repair shop that has been near me for many years. They've done quite a bit of speedometers for me, so I called the guy up. He's still doing them, and I'm going to send that to him. But I would like for these gauges to function, so what I've got is a temperature gauge and a fuel gauge. So the temperature gauge I pulled out, and the wires look good in there, and just moving it seems to move fine. And I looked this up online, and very easy to get the sending unit for this gauge. It's an actual electric gauge. It doesn't have the sensing tube on it. So and they're cheap. I think it's like the same sending unit the 50, the Tri-5 Chevys use. So there's, see, there it moved. The fuel gauge is kind of the same deal. On this Cadillac, it's a 0 to 30 ohm range on the fuel gauge for the sending unit, and that is easily found. You can actually buy the one for the 55 Cadillac fairly cheap off of eBay. So there's one option. The Tri-5 ones are the same resistance, so that's another option. Or you can get a universal one with a universal height setting on it from Summit. I think they're like $50. That is also a 0 to 30, so lots of options to get that. So just kind of blow the junk out of it. All right, see, the wiring looks good. So what I'll probably do is order one of those. Probably do one of those universal ones, because I'm going to use the tank out of my donor van, which is a 40-gallon tank. So I'm going to need an adjustable height on that thing. But this thing still moves freely, so that's good. AC made in USA. Boy, you don't see that much anymore. So those are good. The other thing I like about this thing is it's got two cigar lighters, one here and one in the dash. So I'm going to put new ones in there, and those will be just, miscellaneous charge ports for your whatever device. And I want to pull all of this apart and get the speedometer itself out of here. The speedometer it's really tight. It just barely moves. It's like it's stuck. Another screw there. But I'm pretty sure the guy I'm taking it to can take care of that. He said he could. And I know he's done it for me before. My 48 Plymouth I had an LS1 in that thing for a while, and then I ended up putting a regular small block in it. It had the same issue. Get this off. That cigar lighter is kind of holding this. Actually, I think it's almost like that thing screws into there and hold it. Or does this screw off? Yep, a lot of cigars lit with that thing. So we'll probably put a new one in there. It's got this cable on it for winding back the odometer. And here she is. So the needle seems to move fine. Probably just all the grease in it is hard, and you probably just have to take it apart and lubricate it when you try to turn that. Yeah, when you try to turn with the cable doohickey, it's really tight. Now if you're looking down there, you can see the numbers, just the ones that were in the window for all whatever years. You can't really see, so he may not have to do anything with that because there's only a couple of numbers on there you can't read. Everything else is nice and black and the numbers are white, so that's cool. So I'm going to drop this off to him. As far as the speedometer cable, I need to connect this to a 700R4. So looked online, and there's several options for people who make custom speedometer cables. You specify your length and you specify the ends that you need. So that's probably the same as a Tri-5. So I imagine a lot of people do 700R4s into Tri-5s, so it shouldn't be a big deal. But anyway, little sidetrack there with the other things I'm doing. Thought I'd show that. I'm gonna find a little box, put all these parts and screws in so they don't get lost, and we'll drop that off next week. So all right, back to the body work. Okay, first test drive, we're gonna go about 60 feet and back. So let's see if she move under her own power. Range is running good. We got pretty good temperature. Got good oil pressure. It's running smooth. I had to put the old carburetor back on it, but something with that rebuilt carburetor is not rebuilt. We'll have to figure that out. But it's sounding pretty good. This one, the choke's hanging up on. Let's fix that. But we'll call that a success. All right, so it runs and it drives and it moves under its own power, and I'm very happy about that part. Drive shaft's back in it, obviously. This part, I'm not so happy about. So I learned my first lesson. The camper is taller than the house, and when you're backing up, call your wife for a spotter. So she's not real happy about that. So anyway, had a little hole patch on the roof up there because of that, and part of my ladders is gone now. But hey, it's camping life, I guess. All right, back to the other project. Okay, so I wanted to treat the top of this dash with something, and before we put some clear on it because of that rust. And a guy I know that does some metal work, body work, recommended this Port 15 metal prep. Now it says use a brush or a roller. I'm all out of brushes, so we're not going to do that. We'll just put it on with a rag. It says to have the room about 70 degrees for it to work faster, but my furnace just ran out of propane, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to put this stuff on a rag and wipe it on here. And then when it dries, we'll throw some clear on it. We'll see what it looks like. So it's purple. Ooh, I don't want it down my pants leg. Let's see what it looks like. It's kind of turns it black a little bit, I guess. I was gonna make a separate video on the camper, but you know, was just kind of doing a little bit to it today to get it to where I could do that little test drive, or not even test drive, just kind of more or less test the transmission and the brakes, and it moves and it goes into forward and reverse. So I'm pretty happy that we're at that point with it. I got a few other things to do. I thought the darn thing was overheating, and but it was warming up so fast. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go over to AutoZone and get a cheap gauge and put it on there. And I put a different gauge on there, and it was not overheating. The gauge on the dash was 60 degrees off from the gauge that I put on there, and I didn't think it was overheating because it didn't feel that warm. The radiator didn't feel that warm, and it wasn't boiling over, and it would like shoot up to 260 within a couple of minutes after you started it. And I figured something's wrong with that thing. Could be I used the wrong sending unit for that gauge. I don't know. It's kind of iffy ordering parts for a RV like that instead of just ordering regular truck parts. I'm ordering for the G30 chassis, which is what that's built on. I like it. Okay, we'll go with that, and we'll let that dry, and we'll put some clear on it. Let's see what does the old directions say. Says that is so small I can't even read it. On rusted metal surfaces, keep surface wet for 20 minutes. Then rinse with water. Huh. Why would you want to do that? I don't know if we're going to do that or not. We'll just leave it like this, and I'll shoot a little clear on the corner and see what it looks like. That rag. Get rid of that rag. Ease. Okay, I'm gonna go back over here, and I want to work a little bit more tonight. We're gonna do some more tomorrow, but one thing we're gonna do tomorrow is go get some more propane. I think I'm gonna bust out the die grinder and knock a bunch more of this paint off. All right, let me get some of that done, and then we'll take a look. Well, let me tell you something, folks. If you're sitting in the house and you're thinking, boy, I'd love to go out in my garage and just find a task to perform that is the most miserable thing I've ever done and will absolutely make me hate my project with a passion, take a die grinder and grind the paint off the inside roof of a van. I mean, there's chips flying and flying in your eyes, and you put the shield on to keep it from flying in your eyes. It's still flying in your ears, and the propane ain't working, so the hood's steaming up and you can't see what you're doing. It's yeah, just one of those things that makes you love the car hobby. But that's it for tonight. I'm going to get me some propane in the morning, and tomorrow's Saturday, and we're gonna eat an elephant tomorrow. We're gonna take little bites at a time. But tomorrow I want to get this whole inner roof sanded off. Hopefully get all these pinholes fixed, welded across there, and save the braces from the inside of the van roof. We're gonna make one of these braces fit across there, and we're gonna tie it in with this brace. That's the hopeful for tomorrow. So okay, back in a little while. Morning, everybody. So my old sciatic nerve is barking this morning, so we're gonna be moving a little slower than usual. But I got my naproxen in me. store and get it refilled. So I don't know, next year I may get a second tank, do dual tanks back there. That might get me through most of the winter. So let's take a look at my setup out there. All right, after I quit filming last night, I was looking again on this stuff, and it today, so I think it'll be all right. I don't like flash rust. But anyway, we'll go out here. I'll show you my propane setup. All right, here's what I got. I just got a 100-pounder behind the house. The problem is I'm in a residential neighborhood. Works pretty good. Let me unhook this thing and we'll throw it in the truck. Yeah, I was trying to decide today, do I want to do camper stuff or truck stuff? The weather decided for me. It's supposed to rain all day out here, so But it was nice to have that camper move on its own yesterday. I did notice, I listened to the video clip last night. Man, that fan is hitting that plastic shroud. You can't really hear it inside the camper that much, but from the film outside, you can really hear it. I'm going to have to get in there and clearance that. Anyway, this may be the final voyage of this thing. This has been such a good van, but it is the donor van for the truck. I probably talked about this thing before. I bought this thing for $800 out of a salvage yard that a buddy of mine had. Somebody had taken the dash out, and all the wiring from the dash was laying in the back. They were trying to find something wrong with the wiring, and it just had a nasty, nasty, dirty conversion van interior. But I'll tell you what, I downloaded a wiring diagram, put the wiring back, put the dash back together. Everything worked fine, so evidently I don't know what they were looking for. I put an alternator on this, a set of tires, a muffler, and a fuel pump, and a tune-up. And I guess I've been driving this thing 3 years, 4 years, and this thing has hauled some big loads and just have not had an issue one. The motor doesn't use any oil. It is rusting out pretty good, but and the windshield is leaking. But yeah, it's going to be a good donor for that one, and it will live on. So we're going to take the windshield out of this. We're going to take the fuel tank, the transmission. It's got a good 700 R4 in it. We're going to take a lot of stuff. We're going to take the wiring harness out of this and put it in the truck. And then I'm just going to probably save several parts too. So, but it's been a good one. And the truck will be the new hauler for a while, and I'm sure we'll end up selling it and picking up something else. But anyway, let's take a run up and go get some propane. So some people might think and have commented before, well, if it's such a good van, why are you gonna tear it apart? Well, I mean, it is an 88. The check engine light is stuck on most of the time. The fuel gauge doesn't work. That power window doesn't work. It is rusted out really bad down that side, down the passenger side. So it's kind of hit, you know, when it's raining and you're driving, you're getting rained on because the water's coming in the windshield. So and there's some rust holes in the roof in the back that are starting to come through. So and the driver's seat belt doesn't work. So it's reaching the donor vehicle stage. I'm gonna keep it's got a really good running 350 in it. I'm gonna hang on to that for another project. It does leak a lot of oil, but it doesn't burn any oil, so that's just a power wash it off and throw a set of gaskets and probably a timing chain on it, I think, if I'm ever going to use that for another project. But ooh, slow starter. There we go. It's got good hot heat. It'll run you out of here. Okay, enough of all this noise. Let me go get the propane, get back, get it hooked up, get the camper fired up, and we'll take a look at what we're doing on the actual project. Alright, so this is funny. When I bought this van years ago, didn't have a radio, so I bought this El Cheapo Amazon car stereo for like, I don't know, 30 bucks or something. And I've always hated this thing because you can't pick the radio station. You can't like scroll through radio stations. All you can do is scan through radio stations. And a lot of times when you're hitting the scan, it'll miss the one you're looking for. But when I had this 4 years, I guess, I just accidentally hit a button on the way up here, and it said connecting. No, it said pairing. And it's like, this thing's got Bluetooth. I didn't know it had Bluetooth. So I just paired it to my phone, and I'm Sitting here jamming on my Spotify list. And I can listen to my podcast through it. So this radio that I hated for 4 years, I suddenly like it. And I think I'll keep it on the other truck. So okay, enough of that noise. We'll go back, get this hooked up, and look at some real work of what we're doing. All right, we got the heat going in here. Feeling better already. This is no fun. So let me give you a few pointers, because I know everybody out there is going to sand the inner roof on some vehicle down to bare metal so they can clear coat it. Probably a dumb idea, but you know, I'm committed. So I'm doing it with an electric DA and 80 grit. Usually I will use these until they wear down to absolutely nothing and just won't cut anymore. But in this case, I'm just using them until they stop cutting good. So that's about one little section. Let me show you how fun this is. And then when they're not cutting good, I'll sand something on the side or something with them, or it's not a big a deal holding this thing over your head. And the only reason I'm wearing this is because I keep getting stuff falling in my eyes. So let's do this section over here. Getting my workout. You can definitely feel that in the back, but it's gotten pretty good still. Thankfully, I don't think they put the paint on in here as heavy as what they do the outside, because it knocks it off pretty easy. And I don't even know if there's much primer under it. Take breaks. Whew. That's a job, man. But I'm almost halfway there. It's like standing up, I'm a little too short. Getting up here is a little too tall. Primer spots up there, but That's half of it. Now I just gotta get that half. And then you do with the, like up here where you do with the 40 with the die grinder. There's still a lot of primer spots left off there, so I'll switch to the, that's a 36, I'll switch to the 80 and go over that, and it knocks, for some reason, the 36 doesn't knock the primer off as easy as the 80 does, but the 36 knocks the paint off better. So I don't know if it's just because it's so much finer or what, but go figure, that's the way it is. All right, there's my demonstration. I'll get back to sanding. I'm sure you're done watching that part. Okay, all of that paint is stripped off there. That's a couple hours work, and I'll tell you what, it was a backbreaker. So we're gonna take a little break, grab some lunch, got it all off of there. And when we come back, I want to weld up these. I got some pinholes in the roof. We're going to do that, and then I want to put one of these braces. So this is one that was one of them. I saved. That one's a little short. So we're going to come over here to this roof section we saved. I'm going to cut that right there. I'm going to cut that dude right there. And we're going to pull that brace out. And I got to work on that saw one of these days. We're going to pull that brace out and see if we can make it work in there. I just want some support in the middle of that roof. Just, it's got a little too much flex to it for me. I think that'll keep the noise down, won't rattle as much. And then we're going to tie that brace into it. So, I'm gonna grab some lunch. I think the wife made some veggie soup last night when her friends were over, and be back in a bit. Okay, let me show you what we're gonna do here. So, I took an LED shop light and I set it up on top. And if you look at the weld, you can see the light through all these pinholes. So I got the welder set kind of low, and we're just going to go along here and try and patch those. Hopefully not blow a bunch of big holes through it. And then probably before I clear the top, I'll take some kind of clear sealer and just maybe go along that weld. I don't know, just the clear may seal them up too. But I just definitely don't want water pouring in on me when I'm driving this thing. That would be no fun whatsoever. Let's see how this works. With my helmet on, I might do a little squint. Working pretty good. Whew, set yourself on fire. Wow, that was right in my beard. Okay. A couple of missed here. Yeah, I can't see with the helmet down. turn my welder up, but I don't want to blow holes through this thing. Little tiny one there. Anywho, you get the idea. So I'm going to go through, do that whole seam, knock it down with the, just take a flapper wheel and just go over those little dots, and then look again and see if I missed any. Looks like it's working pretty good though. So anyway, let's get this done, and then we'll bring that roof section over. We'll cut a brace out and figure out where it's going to go. All right, so I cut this brace out of that section of the roof over there, trimmed the ends, got it to where it's ready to weld in, and I cleaned the paint off this side of it. Thing I like about these, it's got this foam on the back of it, and it's already got the little indentations for the ribs, so it lines right up with the roof. Now I took some spray paint and just sprayed underneath where this is going to go. Just didn't want bare metal sitting under there. I was afraid it would rut. Oop, I see some more pinholes over there. I didn't get those. Yeah, we'll get those later. But these I got. So let me go ahead and set the camera up, and we'll get this dude welded in and see what it looks like. All right, I'll tell you what. I will be very glad if I can stop climbing in and out of this thing. And it's harder right now because I got it up on jack stands. You got welding and grinding and paint dust everywhere. Take care of that soon too. Alright. So, where's my gloves? Don't tell me I left them out there. I left them out there. Gosh darn it. Back in just a second. Ugh. Alright. I wonder why my sciatic nerve acts up. I also cut this other motor mount off because I'm whacking my knee on that thing. So, we'll just do one side at a time. Oh, it fits in there so nice. I like it. Just get tacked in place. Turn up. Weld her up about again there. baby. Up. Have a good ground going there. Let's move ground over here. Oh. What, I got that on 3. It's still not burning good. Turn it up. Speed too. That's it. Don't catch yourself on fire. It hurts. Alright, that's in there. Make a little L bracket just to kind of hold that, because there's not a whole lot. I got to weld in between those ribs, and that's not a whole lot of meat there to hold on to. So now, I'm going to cut this off. We're going to weld this to this. Alright, I'm liking that. Okay, I'm gonna make a little couple of brackets here for the side, just to kind of support that better. And I need to change my setting there. That's kind of thin, burnt. Alright, pretty good. It's just kind of twisted. Work on that a little bit. Alright, let me work on this a little bit and we'll take a look. Ooh, nice hairdo we got going. Okay, so there we go. I made some little angle brackets, put them in the corners there, and came out good. I like it. So got that floppiness out of the roof, looks good up on top, and that's good. So I guess the rest of what I need to do in here, so I want to get to a point where I've got no more grinding in here before I start putting the motor in here, and you know, got all the paint and stuff off, and I don't want to get a bunch of dust in the motor. So I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take the die grinder and just start going back around everything. You can kind of see a spot I did there where it's pretty clean looking, and then over here we got a lot of primer and stuff, so that 80 grit die on the die grinder does a pretty good job of that. So I'm just going to take that and go all over this thing, and then once I get all that done and we kind of shoot some clear on everything in here, and we're just going to use spray can clear just to, you know, keep everything from rusting. Once that's done, then we're going to look at motor, and I want to get the steering box in here. So I'm going to pull this piece of floor pan up that I made, and we're going to do like we did over there and make it all one piece. But while I've got this out, we're going to figure out where that steering box is going to go and where that column is going to come up. And I ordered a, here, let's take a look at this thing. Let's do a box opening. So, I got a razor knife around here somewhere. No, I do. Somewhere. Anyway, I ordered a steering wheel off of eBay for this thing, and I thought, since it's like a Corvair style and a Corvair steering box, I found the Corvair Greenbrier steering wheel. So let's see what this thing looks like. Because we are not going to do power steering on this thing. The engine is already set up for brackets just for an alternator, or just for an alternator, not a power steering pump. So I'm not going to worry about doing that. And it's just one less thing I gotta hook up and figure out how to route. Let's open this thing up and see what she looks like. I gotta look cool on there. And it'll fit the splines on the steering column. That's kind of far out looking, I think. That will be a neat looking wheel with that caddy dash on there. I can feel myself driving it already. So that's where we're going. Okay, not sure if we're gonna put any more in this video or not. Let me check the time on it, see how long we're running. Pretty much what I'm gonna do from here on is just a bunch of sanding anyway, so we may be done. We may be going inside to get a word from the Lord. We may be picking up another little clip here in a minute, so let's see what we got. Okay, so been sanding like a madman, and got quite a bit done. Probably doesn't look like it, but if you're up close you can see it. And then I went ahead and sanded this top of this dash off again and shot a couple coats of clear on it. It's just a matte clear that I'm using on there. So that's good to go. So I think we're gonna stop there for today. I'll probably get back out here tomorrow, do some more sanding. You know, there's just spots where there's still paint, you know. And like I cleaned this jam up real good with 80 grit, but I didn't do that jam yet. That door I gotta go back over with 80 grit. That door I still gotta sand. But we are rolling along. So let's get a word from the Lord. Thanks everybody for coming along on this one, and we'll catch you on the next one. Hey all, thanks for coming along today. I think we got quite a bit done. It's actually over the last few days on that video, so pretty happy with that. And I will be glad to get all of the paint sanded out of that cab and be done with that part. It's one of those things that you dread doing it, but you got to power through it. So anyway, on to the message today. So I really like this article that was in the Apologetics Bible, and it's called "Is There Evidence for Life After Death?" And I think it's a great subject matter to talk about. So it says philosophical naturalists, including most evolutionists, believe that death is a cessation of being. In their view, humans, all we are is a body and a brain. We're a biological machine. They reject metaphysical realities such as the soul, and there are convincing reasons to believe that humans have an immaterial aspect to their being that transcends the material, and thus to continue to exist after death. So, you know, that said, we disagree with the view of naturalists and evolutionists. You know, we are not just here for the length of time that our physical body survives, but we go on well beyond that. Eternally, we believe our life force does, our soul does. So from a legal perspective, if human beings were merely material, they cannot be held accountable this year for a crime committed last year because physical identity changes over time. We're not the same people today that we were yesterday. Every day we lose millions of microscopic particles. In fact, every 7 years or so, virtually every part of our material anatomy changes, apart from aspects of our neurological system. Now that just kind of blows my mind, you know, thinking that 7 years ago, every single physical particle of my body in that 7 year span has changed and renewed itself. Pretty cool to think about. Pretty wild to think about. Therefore, from a purely material perspective, we said that, didn't we? Yet a criminal who attempts to use this line of reasoning as a defense would not get very far. Such legal maneuvering simply does not fly in an age of scientific enlightenment. Legally and intuitively, we recognize a sameness of soul that establishes personal identity over time. So even though my body has completely changed, I am still the same person. There's still the same identity. Finally, freedom of the will presupposes that we are more than material robots. If I am merely material, my choices are a function of such factors as genetic makeup and brain chemistry. Therefore, my decisions are not free, they are fatalistically determined. And we talked about this in our apologetics class not long ago. If there's no afterlife, if there's no God, then there's no basis for morality. I mean, if we're nothing but a biological machine, What difference does it make if I'm a murderer and I go around killing other biological machines? We're all going to die anyway. The universe is going to end anyway. But we don't think that way. Where did I go? I cannot help but be held morally accountable for my actions, since reward and punishment only makes sense if we have a freedom of the will. In a solely material world, reason itself is reduced to the status of a conditioned reflex. Moreover, the very concept of love is rendered meaningless. Rather than an act of the will, love is relegated to a robotic procedure that is fatalistically determined by physical processes. So, if we're nothing but a biological machine, love doesn't really matter either, does it? While the legal and freedom arguments are convincing in and of themselves, there is even more powerful and persuasive argument demonstrating the reality of life beyond the grave, and that argument flows from the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The best minds of ancient and modern times have demonstrated beyond the shadow of a doubt that Christ's physical trauma was fatal, that the empty tomb was one of the best attested facts of ancient history, that Christ's followers experienced on several occasions tangible post-resurrection appearances of Christ, and that within weeks of the resurrection, not just one, but an entire community of at least 3,000 Jews experienced such an incredible transformation that they willingly gave up sociological and theological traditions that had given them their national identity. And to me, it's just amazing to think about that from the time Christianity started, the growth of it. And, a lot of people who don't believe in it will say, well, it's these apostles, they were scam artists, just trying to sell a bill of goods. But we have historical proof, not just biblical historical proof, but secular historical proof that these apostles existed and that some of them died for this belief. Now, if you're a scam artist trying to push something, you're not going to die for it. When the rubber hits the road and your life is on the line, that somebody's going to kill you for your beliefs unless you renounce them. If it's fake, you're going to renounce it. But they believed enough that they were willing to give up their life for it. And then through the resurrection, Christ not only demonstrated that he does not stand in a line of peers with Abraham, Buddha, or Confucius, but also provided compelling evidence for life after death. So we look at other religions, we look at Judaism, which is very closely connected with Christianity. And we look, some of these other ones, none of these, we know that these religious figures were born and that they died and that their bodies are in the grave. But we are the only religion that claims and can prove a risen Christ. There is more historical, written historical, archaeological historical proof of Christianity than of any other religion in the world. More of just about any other literature in the world. I heard it said that we have, between fragments of archives and manuscripts and secular proof, there's over 5,000 pieces of close to original manuscripts of Scripture that are in the possession of the church and museums and collectors. But if you look at something really famous like one of Shakespeare's famous plays or his famous writings, there's not near that amount of literary evidence dating back to that time, that historical evidence that you can pull. But we have no trouble believing that Shakespeare was alive. So just good food for thought there, and I hope you enjoyed that reading. So let's have a word of prayer, and we'll be done. Father, I just thank you for today, and I just thank you for that reading, for the your love letter to us in the Holy Scriptures, and the proof that you have put out there that we can convincingly argue for that your word is true, that you did exist, that you did die for us, and that you did rise from the dead. And I just asked for anyone who is out there who hears this, that is doubting, that you would soften those hearts and just give them the desire to research those facts and to look for you, and they will find you. And we ask this in the name of your precious Son, Jesus. Amen. All right, hit like, hit subscribe. Thanks for following along on the video, and we'll catch you on the next one.